Hey everybody, it's Buckeye Friday and Takeaway Friday. And if you're taking anything away from Twitter Spaces today, good for you. I guess yesterday, Thursday. So it was. News is coming fast and furious. We're heading into the spring game. It's an actual Buckeye Friday because we have real football tomorrow, Saturday. Dan, how are you? What are you thinking? What's going on?
I am salty and feisty today.
Uh,
I am
yeah.
looking. I am looking forward to coming up there. I'm leaving early tomorrow. Um, Going to check out some of the other shows, parties that they're having tomorrow and Saturday morning. Hopefully, get a chance to meet some folks that know who we are. Speaking of which, go ahead and hit that like button,
Yep.
subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notified when we're coming on or when we release an episode. And hopefully, I get to meet some folks next couple days.
Yeah, I've mentioned. So I'll be bringing my family, but I'll be available if people want to come talk. I'll be, if people text or DM me on Twitter, I'll be happy to come meet you. Tell you a little bit about a show, tell you why we're doing what we're doing. I can't tell you where we get our information from because then we won't get our information anymore. But yeah, like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and we appreciate it. So, Dan, I didn't get to tell you this, but our subscriber count is up by like 25
Since when?
really, really quickly, like within the last 17 days.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So it just keeps climbing. The likes keep climbing. So the viewers keep climbing. And then one of the interesting things, if anybody cares, is some of it's via browse history. And I think it's because they've been finding us via our reels. So Dan does a great job with Instagram reels, and I try to put some of the shorts on our Twitter pages. And yeah, so appreciate you guys. We love it.
Yeah, send me some
So
song. Send me some song suggestions for my stories and
yeah,
reels, so that
yeah.
my fiance doesn't message me and tell me that my song selection sucked today.
Well, if it matters, I had made the title of our pod "Faded Watercolor Memories," and my wife had no idea. So again, my wife is considerably younger than me, and Dan's fiance is younger than him. And I didn't use considerably, Dan, so feel I'm being kind today.
Extra
Uh, so,
considerably. Thank you.
anyways, so presser on Wednesday for Ryan Day and Carlos Lachlan. I'll tell you what, I was crazy impressed with Carlos Lachlan. What'd you take away? What'd you think?
I mean, he was everything I expected, and even more. I love his take on the logo that he wears, and that's important to him.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yep.
Thought
That's
that was
great.
really cool. I love the story about um, when somebody asked him what it's like having to command a room or lead a room of 6 or 7 guys, and he used the analogy of having 51 inmates in his prison pod, so it was never something that was going to intimidate him. It gives you perspective, man, as to what the guy's background is. But I love it. I love that he gave credit on the soft batch cookie thing.
Yeah.
He seems to be a very, honest and humble guy, except when he talks about how he's going to be in better shape and can still probably play better than his players.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I took. I mean, that dude, like, he needs his own commercial about traps because like,
yeah,
his traps are
yeah.
they
He
look
should
like
see.
mini mountains, man.
He should see a doctor for that.
Yeah. I don't know. That's impressive.
Yeah, no, he's an impressive guy. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I think that he's been well received so far, and
Hmm.
he's going to earn his money on the recruiting trail.
Yeah. Speaking of recruiting, so one of the things I walked away from the presser yesterday realizing is kind of how regional both TC Caffey and Sam Williams Dixon's recruitments were, because he said he knew Q and Trey and Dallin from when he was recruiting either at Memphis or Oregon, or or some of both, or Ole Miss, and but he didn't know Sam or TC, and that he's getting to know them. But he mentioned, like, he doesn't think of himself as a recruiter. He called himself a relationship builder, and I have
Yeah.
2 exclamation points after that in my notes, because Man, that's such a great thing to hear, because I know that we don't think about this a lot, but a lot those coaches spend a ton of time with those guys. And he talked, and you hammered on something that I want you to talk a little bit about. But he talked about how the running back coach position is like the worst coached position or something like that. And I just wanted to get your take. I know you had some passionate feelings about it. Why do you think that is?
I think it's perception that it's an easy position to coach and that it's often an afterthought. I don't necessarily buy that, and I never really did.
Yeah.
But it is one of the easier positions to coach on the field, right? So I think that's where it comes from. And to his point, I just love that he embraces the responsibility that he has and how passionate he is about taking his craft seriously. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I had
I
another
get it.
thought there and I lost it.
It's okay. So I saw some Oregon fans who are rapidly growing to like annoy me about as much as Notre Dame fans did. And I'm putting you on par with Notre Dame, Oregon, because
Ooh.
you are the Notre Dame of the Pac 12. Congratulations. You have a lot of money and a lot of prestige and nothing else. So uh, there's your feistiness for the day, Dan. It takes great strength to make a decision to leave a place like that, Lachlan
Hmm.
said. And yeah, he's not wrong. You think about some of the times that you've made career changes, and I could tell you 1,000 stories about decisions you have to make as you're growing your career. And maybe it's not the right fit, or you have an opportunity for advancement, or whatever, or you just found a company that you really wanted to work for a long time that just has a similar block O but has a whole lot more to offer. um that's it. So yes, it does take great strength, because it's easy to be complacent, it's easy to do the same thing over and over, it's easy to be in what you feel is a secure environment. It's hard to start over, it's hard to do something new, it's hard to get outside of your comfort zone.
Amen.
Yeah.
I have absolutely nothing to add to that.
Yeah, every now and then I have some thoughts. So Ryan Day said he So I'm gonna switch gears. So I wanted to start with Lachlan because I was just so impressed by the guy. I was like, man, I really like him, and he's um I think my last take on him is he's so relatable. I didn't ever feel like Tony Alford was all that relatable. There's just some people that have an it about them, and Lachlan has it. And whether or not he has a great recruiting success or not, I don't know. We'll see. But he does have something that those kids like, and he's got it. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
the relationship aspect of it, I remembered where I was going with this. I mean, that's what it is today. These kids are so easily and quickly and constantly influenced because of social media. You need
Yep.
to be able to have that connection. You need to be able to build that relationship. And it reminds me when I coached a couple years in high school down in Georgia, and I cold called, a new coach that had just got announced. And it was 2010. It was National Signing Day. I figured I was coming home from an interview, and I figured, you know what? If this guy's as good as they say he is, he's still going to be at the building. It was like 4:30 in the afternoon.
Mm.
So fast forward. I found the guy. We started talking. Told him about my passion, why I wanted to coach, and on the spot, he offered me the freshman head football position. I'm like, Coach, I
Mm.
came here hoping that I could just hang out at practice. Like, what do you mean lead the football team? He goes, listen, and he's already calling me coach, which tells you he was selling me, right?
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, Coach, he said 85% of coaching is relationships.
Mm.
15% is the X's and O's. We had a really strong freshman group coming in that year, and he wanted to make sure they all had a good experience and wanted to play as sophomores. Um, and he said, I got a couple former NFL guys that are going to help you out. I'm like, all right, but that always impressed upon me. It's relationships, and that's what recruiting is, and that's what a lot of coaching is today.
Yeah, I get it. So Ryan Day did go first in the press conference, and he was having allergy issues just as much as I am. So
Also, was
welcome
having
to
truth issues.
yeah, welcome to Ohio in the spring. So Ryan Day said, and I kind of like I heard it and I put it in my like bank of thinking. I like to think about things when he says something because I try to decipher what's going on. And he said he is planning to run the quarterbacks a lot this year. And then he went on to say there is quarterback separation happening with the QBs.
Mhm.
He didn't say what the pecking order is, and he said he wants more consistency. So, Dan, I know on Twitter Spaces today you posed a question and you posed it well, but I just wanted to get your take on those couple statements, and I'm going to turn you loose, man, and let the viewers know what you asked on Twitter Spaces today of Cardale before Dan brought a flamethrower to the Twitter Spaces conversation today with Jay
That
Book.
question really wasn't meant to be a flamethrower. Like I literally was intrigued to understand his psyche as a former quarterback.
Yeah,
Basically, what I asked was, I think we need to, provide some context here. All indications are, and I've heard this from 6 or 7 different sources now at this point, and I think you've confirmed it as well with the sources that you have. And again, we're not insiders. We happen to
yeah.
know a
Menace
few.
talked about it today too.
Yeah, we
If you
happen to
caught
know a
it,
few people here and there, and this podcast world is pretty intertwined. Um, all indications are that Will Howard had the absolute worst day of the spring yesterday. He threw 3 interceptions and he was awful. And this came on the heels of him turning the ball over quite a bit over the last week. My understanding is he leads the team in turnovers. Um, so for him to get up there and say everything that he did about Will, which was entirely complimentary, really caught me off guard. I thought he'd say little to nothing at all coming off of a day like that. So
yeah,
what I asked Cardale was, with Howard coming off a day like he just had, was Ryan speaking to him to more or less get, to get him back on the train mentally, just to because he's going to be needed in one form or another, right? I don't think he's going to start.
yeah,
If it's based on who's earned it, he will not start. If Ryan's feeling pressured from the amount of money that was given to him, then he might start.
yeah.
But I wanted to know because that it really kind of set me off that that he spoke so complimentary of him coming off a day and quite frankly a week like he's had. And I don't get it. And it made me start to worry about what we went through last year. I don't want that to
Yeah,
happen again. This team
I
deserves
agree
better.
with you. Yeah, I agree with you. So that was the first thing I thought was, oh, here we go again. And then hearing the McCord interview with the Syracuse folks about how they had some conversations, and it was clear that both parties basically had their own ideas of which way they were going to go. And then you add in the fact that Ryan Day talked about the amount of football that Will Howard has played. And so that, like, there were little like nuggets in there that you just kept going down this tick box of like, okay, what's going on between the lines here. And then to go on a rant by Ryan Day went on a rant about how well Julian is doing. That he needed to be ready to play against Oregon, that he needed to be ready to play in Happy Valley, that he needed to be ready to play against that team up north. Um, so my immediate, we can tell each other, like we can tell the fans. My immediate text to you was, it sure sounds like he's setting up Julian Sayin to be the backup quarterback. That's literally my first thought. And
I think there's some context. So I went back and listened to the interview again, and there was that he was providing one answer to 2 separate questions that were posed about 5 minutes apart.
Fair enough.
And he he had talked about him being in the mix. And let's be clear about something here, okay? Here's Buckeye Nation. I'm going to smack you in the face with some reality. All right?
At least it's just reality.
Kyle McCord was in the mix as a freshman.
Yeah.
Matthew Baldwin was in the mix as a freshman. Everybody's been in the mix. It's Ryan's cliche, right? It's coach speak, it's roster management, it's psychology and psychiatry all bundled into one. Ryan is like a broken record when it comes to answering questions like that with new quarterbacks, freshman quarterbacks in the spring.
Yeah.
Not saying that this kid is not way better than all of those guys, because all indications are that he is. But I just think we need to pump the brakes a little bit and realize that, he has said that he's in the mix about a number of quarterbacks in the past that were like they weren't even part of the ingredients, let alone being in the mix. Okay,
So
at the time.
so
Um,
I
and
want to
then
rewind you on something here in a
okay.
minute. Go ahead, continue your thought.
And then when he said, then that was the other, headline that people grabbed out of there that Ryan Day says Julian Sayin needs to be ready to play against Oregon and Penn State and the team up north. That was a follow up to somebody asking Ryan, when you say in the mix, what do you mean? What would it take for him to actually play? And he answered that by saying, well, you know, if his number was called, he'd have to be ready to play against the likes of. He
Yeah.
wasn't saying we need him ready because he's going to play.
Okay. So uh, that kind of answers that question a little bit. I
Okay.
was wondering because he referenced needing three quarterbacks
Mm-hmm.
to win the last national title, and then and he's not wrong. They did, and it was really an interesting take that he made reference of that, and the consistency piece, like him saying he wants more consistency. And I had to feel like that was directed at Will Howard and the mistakes that are being made. And, and again, I was listening to another podcast and they brought that up. They brought up that like Will Howard has been doing been having a lot of mistakes, but they're saying that the caveat to that was, and I just want to, and this is something I brought up before, is the speed at which things happen at Ohio State and in the Big Ten, and the type of players and athletes we have. And so the other thing that I think it was Dave Biddle today on Spaces pointed out is that right now they're not utilizing Will Howard the way that you would think we would utilize Will Howard. And I thought it was a good point that
Mm-hmm.
um, he's not running. He's not doing a zone read. He's not, straight drop back and, they're running two goes and a crosser and there's 15 yards in front of him because in the middle of the field to run and take off and get those yards. So, I, Biddle kind of pointed out that like, hey, that's part of his game too. And something we were missing with CJ, and that helps me get my train of thought back on something else too. But you mentioned McCord being in the mix for starting. He did start against was it Akron in
I think CJ
2021 because
he
CJ
got he got hurt.
was dinged up. Yeah, but yeah. So what are your thoughts, man? Where are we at with this Will Howard thing? Did
So
that help
first of
settle your
all,
stomach a little bit or no?
no, I'm gonna take a bottle of antacids when we're done. Um, I'm just really I don't want to go through what we went through last year, and
No, I don't either.
I don't want one bad practice by somebody to derail or open the door for somebody else when they've been stellar otherwise. Dave Biddle
Mm,
said it was bizarre to me, right? Because you start to get this feeling that you start to figure out that there are other powers that be that influence a coach, right?
shocker.
And he started referring to Howard as a gamer. I mean,
Yep.
and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Truther maybe on there. And he said, "Listen, man, like this guy got ran out of Kansas State. He couldn't stay on the field consistently. It's not like he was a 2-year or 3-year starter. I mean, yes, he won a Big 12 championship against a very underachieving Texas team, right? And Kansas State plays with a chip on their shoulder. But at the end of the day, his stats weren't that far different from Kyle. And now I know everybody is saying that, well, he didn't have the talent level. Well, you know what? That talent level at Ohio State might actually be a problem for him because he's not used to it
Yep.
and he's not accustomed to it. I think the guy's starting from scratch.
Mm,
So this experience thing you can throw out the window, in my opinion. Okay. And then to say that he's a gamer and that, when the lights go on, I guess we're going to see on Saturday. I sure hope that Ryan challenges all those quarterbacks and puts them all in similar situations and doesn't protect one or the other so that they don't look bad on that type of stage. I can tell you right now that's what's going to happen. And if it doesn't, I will be the first to admit I was wrong.
mm.
But I'm there's things I'm hearing that like it sounds eerily similar to last year, and To the consistency piece, I can't help but to think that he was talking to Devin,
Okay.
because of last year and that one bad practice he had after telling him he was going to start and then changing his mind. Now, was that mild encouragement or was that criticism? I tend to think it was encouragement based on the reports we're getting from practice. I mean, Biddle and J Book, they both said all indications are, and they used these words: Devin has been lights out.
Yep.
But then out of the other side of their mouth, they're saying Will's going to be the starter. And then one last thing that you touched on, and then I'll take a breath. Um, this idea that we're going to run the quarter, I mean, more than last year. Okay, let's just to be clear, more than last year is 2 reads where the quarterback keeps it. Okay,
Yeah.
and
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say, so what Berm and some others have said privately is that they would think that that means 4 times a game, that there are 4 runs, and some they may not even be designed. 2 may be designed, and 2 may not be, but it's that 5 to 7 yards that you need to get
Mm-hmm.
when it's 3rd and 6, and the kind of things we didn't get from CJ because Ryan Day was petrified to have him get hurt, and now we know why. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think that, another thing that Ryan could very likely mean when he says we're going to run the quarterback, he could very well mean that we're going to allow the quarterback to run.
that's a better way to say it.
Rather than designed and called plays. I think you're right on. I think we can see, 2 to 4 deliberate QB run calls in the game,
Yeah,
and then maybe mix in another 3 or 4 where they can read it and keep it if they like what they see. And
yeah,
then, color me crazy, but how nice would it be to see if our quarterback, 2, 3, maybe 4 times was able to escape the pocket, get out of trouble, and actually run, right? So,
yeah,
which he did not allow CJ to do. So, that's what we're going to run the quarterback very likely means. We're,
yeah.
we're, we're, we're not going to pick those guys over Trey and Q. Come on.
Yeah, I think that there's that's where we got to be careful with a misnomer. So this is not going to be Urban Meyer with Braxton Miller and a QB power.
JT
Anytime you
Barrett.
get in trouble, you run QB power. JT Barrett, yeah, Braxton Miller was better at it. But anyways, Braxton Miller, I shouldn't say better. Braxton Miller's athletic ability, man. Like there have been very few people that I've seen and went, wow. And it's just a shame his arm got hurt. So the other takeaway I had was about the running backs. And so they asked about Dallin. Dallin won't be available Saturday. Shocker. Like you said, his locker's probably already cleaned out.
Yeah.
But Ryan Day said he was comfortable with the 5. And I was shocked, if I'm being honest, because this is something you and I have hit on, that like you go into next year, 2025, Q and Trey are gone, so you have a true sophomore in James Peoples, a redshirt sophomore in TC Caffey, a true sophomore in Sam Williams Dixon, and let's say we get Bo Jackson, Jordan Davidson, and Reinhardt out of the Columbus area, and you bring in a 3-person class. That's a really young room. And there apparently isn't actually interest in that kid from UMass, as far as I understand it, from what I've been told. So are you comfortable there? Like with all the injuries we've had, I'm like, oof.
I mean, I think the thing
We're
that you
not
need
at
to remember,
practice. We're
yeah,
not at
and
practice.
and listen, man, I don't envy the position that these coaches are in today with when
Mm-mm.
it comes to roster management and portal
No.
management. I mean, you got to take everything he says with a grain of salt. He knows that those kids are listening. Man, there were current Ohio State players in the Twitter space today
Yeah.
listening to that.
Yep.
And I'm talking about after Ryan dropped off. They
Yeah, I
were
know.
listening to the
we
fans
know.
give
We know.
unfiltered, takes.
Mm-hmm.
I know. And the so we gotta remember what's going on. I mean, if you listen to Josh Pate, I mean, he's going hard right now with what's about to happen on Monday. he's come straight out and named 10 schools that more or less have a war chest of money to be going after players.
Yep.
There's a rumor, or not a rumor, he reported that an agent called a coach on behalf of a current player on their current roster and said he needs $1.5 million to stay.
Mm.
I mean, it's going to be crazy next week, and I don't feel good about it anymore
Mm.
because of, I mean, our last show or 2 shows ago when we went through the defensive depth chart, our twos could start in
Yep.
mass for a
Yep.
lot of teams. You
Yeah.
know?
What I've kind of heard through the grapevine is that we can expect to lose 10%. So I would expect to lose 8 to 10 players. We have a pretty good finger on about 4 or 5 of them that you and I are like, yeah, we know. There's a couple though that I would hate to lose, but I'm not good. I never put anybody in a portal, but I have a feeling that we're going to lose.
Who do you think?
I'm just saying. I'll text you afterwards. I just feel like
Oh,
there's going to be there's going to be some people coming after them because of what we talked about with the two deep, and they're not, the reps are going to be cut this year just because of some returning players, and
yeah. Hey, listen,
I think
rest
we're going to
assured,
lose some.
rest assured, I mean, I'd be shocked if the phones are not blowing up for almost every quarterback on our
Oh,
team,
for sure.
even Air, because they don't know how much of a disaster he is in practice.
Mm, we'll see.
And potential, right? Potential's
Yeah,
a valuable
I
thing.
you have heard things that I have not heard, and you've shared them with me, but I have not been able. I'm not at practice, and I haven't really, other than I know that Air is competing in 7-on-7s. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So the running back thing, I get it might be lip service, but I also think, and this is just me, it's also hard for us because you're not going to go get like the guy that's going to want to come in and sit behind Trey and Q, and that's where Dallin is now. And so it's probably going to be a thing towards the winter transfer portal next year that you're bringing somebody in for 2025 if you're going to do it. Saying that they don't feel like they can make it with Peoples and others. So it was just something that I went, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the running back room, though, I can see them pulling somebody in that's like maybe a true sophomore
Okay.
because of Trey and Q leaving next year.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like it would be a depth piece. They're not going to go out and get a starter, but it was
Or,
interesting.
or maybe a true freshman that they came in second on during the recruiting cycle and been at spring practice at their new school and realized they made a mistake.
So anywhere but Ohio State and Georgia. Got it.
Yeah.
Just yeah, just
I mean,
saying.
Lyles went down to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just spitballing at this point, but
Yeah.
I think that's
Jordan
how crazy
Marshall.
it's. I think that's gonna. I think that's how crazy we're going. We're going to see freshmen, early enrollees transfer
Well,
in this spring portal. Not, I don't know from where, but we're going to see it.
it's not a well known secret anymore, but the war chest in Michigan appears to be empty. So Jordan Marshall, come on down, come back home, man.
I
And
mean,
you're not going to get paid or win there. So
I took that with a grain of salt because it came from their beat, and their beat is notorious for just. I mean, they're worse than meteorologists.
yeah. Well, there's a couple of them. There's a couple of them that have yeah. James Yoder, for as much as he drives me crazy, he tends to have a pretty good pulse on the program.
I enjoy Yoder.
Yeah.
Like I would sit down and have a beer with Yoder.
Yeah, he's not terrible
You know,
as far as things go. But yeah, so I'm of that camp. I'm in that thought. With you that I think there may be some true freshmen, Jordan Marshall, that want to come home to Ohio. Jordan Marshall, let's tag him in that.
that that's a
And
first. Are you just trying to manifest that, or do you know something?
No, I'm trying to manifest it. I mean, we did finish second for him. We got in late on him. Tony Alford's not here anymore. Locke knows who he is. I mean,
Well,
there's a
Alfred's
lot of
up
there's
there. He turned Alfred down.
yeah, there's a lot of things, a lot of things. So
Wouldn't that suck?
yeah, well, whatever. I still
We didn't even
can't
talk about the shots fired that from that piece of work.
yeah, can't figure that out. But anyways, so the other thing I wanted to touch on, spring game. So first team guys will be mainly playing thud, which is not tackling. So, you know, thoughts good, bad, whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's good business.
Hmm.
You know, I
He
mean there's no
mainly
reason to.
mentioned like Trey, Q, JT, Jack. Those are the guys he said like they don't need it, more or
I
less.
mean I don't know if people understand this, but I mean again I coached in 2010 and 11. We weren't taking guys to the ground at all
Mm.
once the fall rolled around.
Well, yeah.
During the
Mm.
course of the week. It wasn't like, there was like Tuesday was a really, full on hard day.
Yeah.
Like it was thud throughout the week. That's just what football's turned
Mm.
into.
Yeah. Well, it's violent. It's a violent sport, man. So no tackling, but everyone else will be full go. It sounds like pads will be popping, according to Ryan Day. Dallin Hayden not available. I did jot down the scoring. So if you're keeping score at home, exhibition offense versus defense, meaning the offense will be getting 6 points traditionally as they would, and then the defense, if they score a touchdown, they get 6 points. A takeaways three and outs worth three, quarterback sacks worth two, forced punts are worth a point. I tend to think this often favors the defense because they have multiple ways to score. Um, are you good with this? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it makes it interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's who was it? I'm gonna look like an idiot for not knowing who said this, but if we're keeping, if we're playing, if we're keeping score, we want to win.
Yep. Pretty much.
Was that Urban?
It might
Um,
might have been.
but yeah, no, it'll make it fun. Competition's great. Any time that you can create a competitive environment and have a winner and a loser, I think it leads to success. I'll tell you one thing that just popped into my head that I'm really interested to see if we can catch a glimpse of it. And I don't even know if he's going to be here, but I'm suddenly looking forward to having the opportunity to see if Nick McClarty's out on the field
Oh yeah.
booming the ball at all. I want to see what this kid's leg looks like. I know he's not
Yeah.
enrolled yet, but
Yeah.
um,
Well, if he's not enrolled, he can't be out there, man. Let's not put that out in the world.
well, no, I mean, if all the recruits can be on the sideline watching the game, why can't he?
Oh, he can. I just mean he can't be in the game kicking the
No, no, no,
football.
no, no. I'm thinking like he's off on the sideline, or in
Oh
between
yeah, he can do
quarters,
that.
or at
Yeah.
halftime or something. He's out there screwing around. Um,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, they always have fun halftime activities like the fastest student, versus the fastest football player in a race, 100-yard dash,
Is
that kind of
Cardale going
stuff.
to get out there and throw something 70 yards flat footed again?
Yeah, that was fun. I was there. I couldn't believe it,
Really?
but yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna give you my old man take on the spring game.
Uh oh.
So and it bugs me because I liked the Scarlet versus the Gray, and I guess gone are the days of the loser walks back to the Woody and has to mulch Buckeye Grove and doesn't get to eat steak and lobster. They had to eat boiled hot dogs. I guess those days are gone, and it makes me really sad because that was something I really enjoyed about that tradition. And
Was that Woody or Trestle?
that was trestle and herbs.
Well,
Yeah.
let's not jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
I might
Okay.
we might get a little flavor of that
Yeah.
with Tress being involved a lot more
Yeah.
now. I think Ryan's
Yeah.
trying to tap into some of that stuff.
Yeah. Because I know I was listening to somebody the other day that talked about the boiled hot dogs. It might have been Bobby Carpenter was talking about having to eat boiled hot dogs, and yeah. So I miss those days. I thought it was fun, and in this kind of a situation, for me, where we're talking about Will and Dev. I would love Will versus Dev, Scarlet versus Gray. Let's go get it. Like Mex on one side and Tate's on the other, and it's Will and Dev, and They split the offensive line, half ones, half twos, and let's go, man. And let's see what we got. And Q's on one side, Trey's on the other, But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. I guess we got some football on Saturday, so let's go.
Yeah, this QB battle is so important this year. I'm more apt. While I love what you just described, I don't want there to be any excuses. I want to see
Mm.
them both run, with the same people and see what happens.
All right. So speaking of people, visitors, I do have some sad news. Decorian Moore actually won't make the spring game. Everybody's very excited because he was skipping LSU's spring game and a 7-on-7, and it sounds like one of his track meets got moved. And if you've been paying attention, the weather's been atrocious coming up from Texas and Louisiana because it's going right through Ohio, and we've had like 97 straight days of rain. So I am bummed about that. They Jonah Williams, the safety DB athlete, all worldly guy who's friends with Devin Sanchez, will be here. And Devin Sanchez and the Sanchez family have confirmed that they'll be landing at 6:00 tonight, Friday night, on Twitter,
Yeah.
because somebody said if they're here, and I think it was the Scarlet and Gray podcast, and they've been taking some fire anyway, so maybe not put if in things if you aren't
Yeah,
sure
but
about it.
not to their. If you're talking about what's on the scoop stuff.
No, I just meant about
Oh, okay.
them saying if, but yeah, no, I
Oh,
know
gotcha.
I wasn't talking about that. I
Okay.
stay away from those things.
There's somebody out there that's maybe they could figure out the IP address and block them that way. That's just being scum of the
There,
earth on other podcasts and Twitter.
there's always those people, man. Twitter and podcasting world can be a negative place. So,
Yeah.
all right, man. Well, I know that you're going to be driving. You're going to be sitting right behind me. I'm hoping that Juck gets to come. The three of us going to try to meet up, and then we do have that mashup show following the spring game next week, and following the Ryan Day's presser. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, man. I'm gonna let you do your riff, and I know you said you were feeling feisty. So what do you got? I'm just playing.
Were you not paying attention?
No, I'm not paying any attention, man. I just been muting you every time you talk. No,
I think I've got my song picked out for this week's story. It's going to be "We Didn't Start the Fire."
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I'm excited, man. I'm it'll be good to just be in the horseshoe, catching some football. It's supposed to be 70 and sunny, so Day said 50,000 tickets I think had been sold. So I was there in, I don't know, like before COVID, and they said they sold over 100,000, and it was very busy that day.
Yeah.
But it was the time they were trying to sell out the shoe. Urban was still the coach, so it's been a hot second. But
I'll
yeah,
be surprised if we don't go north of 90 and push 100. I'll be really surprised. I think there's going to be a ton of walk up traffic. I think a lot of people are waiting to see what the weather was going to hold out like.
yeah,
And then plus, it's cheap admission. You can walk up. The
it's
locals,
$10. Yeah,
students.
students are free.
Yeah. So how do they even know? I mean, did they have to claim a ticket? Are they in that?
Yeah,
50?
you have to claim it. You have to claim a general admission ticket. But yeah, I'm pretty sure at least it used to be. Students used to be free. But yeah, well, and back when I started going, man, it was like $3. So I feel old. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to be there. My son's excited. He's got his jersey out already. So I got
The whole fam's
got a
come, right?
yeah, wife, my mom. My mom has never been to a spring game.
Okay.
So, it was a tradition my dad and I had. And so mom's coming, brother's coming, both my kids and my wife. So we got 6 seats in a row. And my wife is concerned that I'll be too engrossed in football to watch our children. So there's other adults coming with us.
Why in the world would she be concerned with that?
I have no idea. It's not like I'm obsessed or anything.
Shocker.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was the other day I was frantically running around the house looking for my selfie stick so I can put my phone further up in the air to get a better view if I need to. But anyways,
Okay,
yeah,
Connor Stallions.
that's it for me. So it's grainy, man. It's grainy iPhone footage. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's
It's
grainy.
grainy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like the fields of Nebraska.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you gonna do? All right, well, that's gonna do it for me, man. Any last words?
No, man, looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, that'd be good too.
You and the
That'd be good
fam.
too.
So yeah, no,
Uh,
I'll be there bright and early. I'll be on the road early tomorrow, and looking forward to meeting everybody.
yeah, Dan, do you want to tell? Do you want to tell people where you're going to be up here? Because you're going to beat me down there, and you're going to a couple of the parties.
Yeah, so Menace is having a live show at Yogi's in Dublin tomorrow, and then Buckeye Scoop is doing a Buffalo Wild Wings pregame on Saturday morning. So I figured, if I'm in town, we got a lot of the same listeners. They obviously have a lot more, but we'd love to convert some folks or borrow some folks and get a chance to meet some people and just be around some, fellow Buckeye Nation people. So
Yeah, that'd
yeah,
be
that's
good. It'll be good. And so, if you guys are wondering, Dan's going to be doing kegs and eggs, and so and just seeing how long you can hang for the day.
yeah,
Yeah.
those days are over.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, yeah, it's been good. I hope your travels go well. I'm sure we'll be texting throughout the day and we'll be meeting up at the game. And yeah, and if you want to come find us, come say hi. I'm okay putting it out there. We are in the Huntington Club in section 1. And I'm in row 33. Dan's in row 34. I'm not hard to find. I'm going to be in the very end seat, probably. Well, actually, maybe I'll move to the middle because Dan will be behind me, and we can yell things at people. But yeah, come find
Yeah, and I'm
us
gonna
if you'd
bring my
like to.
I'm gonna bring my straw and napkin.
Yeah, and Dan said he was going to bring a blue pen for signing autographs. So if you
Yeah,
need his autograph, feel free,
I'll be the
or bring a
disappearing
sharpie.
ink.
He'll sign your forehead. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. We're rambling, and it's time to be done for the day. So you guys have a good weekend, good spring game. Come find us. Come say hi, and as always, stay safe. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.